I'm Anita Thurmond, and I'm this morning's worship associate here at Horizon. We're excited to welcome you to our worship service this morning. We're so glad to have you with us today, whether you're joining us in person or virtually. Whether you're here for the first time, or whether you've been here longer than you can remember. Here at Horizon, we welcome people of all faiths and of no faith in particular. Whoever you are, wherever you are on your journey, you're welcome among us. And would Pam Schumann please come up and make an announcement about Horizon Players?
Good morning. As Anita says, I'm a member of Horizon Players, have been from the beginning. And I have one word for you today. Boo! Actually, I have a few more words for you. We'd like to cordially invite you to Horizon Players 2022 Summer Dessert Theater coming up this Friday and Saturday at 8 p.m., but the doors open at 7:30, so come early to get the best seats. It's a wonderful, fun little ghost story that's suitable for ages 8 to, I'm told, 408. Tickets are $15, and they are for sale in the fellowship hall, and you have a little take-home to remind you in case you forget. We don't want you to forget. This is something you don't want to miss. And tickets can be purchased by cash, check, and this year, credit card also. So we're very happy to tell you that. And as I say, we have some yummy desserts and snacks always available. It is a dessert theater. And the second thing I'd like to add is at the end of service, we would appreciate your help in removing all the hymnals to the cart in the back of the sanctuary. That helps us because we have to do some Horizon Player magic at the end of service, and we turn the sanctuary into a theater. And we hope to see you at the play. Thank you.
Our call to worship this morning comes from the writings of the Reverend Sean Parker Dennison. This is called I Will Love You by Being. And I'm thinking of this, I chose this as our call to worship this morning, thinking of the way we love each other. So he writes, I will love you by being brave. I will walk directly into the eye of every storm, push back against the wind that tries to stop my forward motion, and bear the bruises from hailstones that mark my skin. I will love you by being strong. I will lift the weight of 1,000 broken hearts, pull the whole world behind me on a single chain, and break my own shell to grow tender and new. I will love you by being wise. I will close my mouth, open my eyes, my ears, my heart. Push aside the obvious, the easy, the darling and the dead, and begin again and again to know and not know everything of love. I will love you by being weak. I will reveal the tender and the vulnerable, hold myself open, pull off the armor, the exoskeleton, layer by layer, and build nothing in its place. I will love you by being. I will breathe in and out and cherish the beating of my own heart. Push back against anything that would suffocate my flame. Burn away despair. Leave room for more love. I will love you by being weak. I will love you by being wise. I will love you by being strong. I will love you by being brave. I will love you by being. Let us worship together. Our chalice lighting this morning is inspired by the writings of Frederick Buechner, who recently passed, and his writing has brought comfort and joy to many. He says, "The place we are called to, whether by spirit, the universe, by something we cannot yet name, is where our deep gladness and the world's deep hunger meet." May it be so. I invite you to join in saying the words of our affirmation. Love is the doctrine of our church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. Dwell together in peace, to seek the truth, to serve humanity in harmony with the earth. Thus do we covenant together. I invite you to rise, either in body or in spirit, and join in singing our opening hymn, Love Knocks and Waits for Us to Hear. It's number 1029 in the Teal hymnal.
Every week, we accept donations for MetroCrest Services, our charity partner. And so every week, you are invited to bring shelf-stable food items or personal care products for the clients of MetroCrest Services. So I'd like to invite the young and the young at heart to come forward. And if you could give that young person your donations, they can put them in that basket. And if you are young or young at heart and brought your backpack, please bring that up too. And if you didn't, well then maybe it's an imaginary backpack. So please come on down over here. Yes, ma'am. So hi everyone, look at everybody coming up. We got some people with backpacks, some people with imaginary backpacks. It's wonderful. And today is our annual blessing of the backpacks. It's a ritual we have in Unitarian Universalism to start the new RE year. You might have noticed that we're not having our back to school splash outside. Well, it was supposed to rain and I think it will rain. We'll have our back to school splash next week, okay?
So, in our time together this morning, each person will be able to choose a bag tag to take home. I think Lauren has an example that she'd like to show you. So at this time, will the ushers pass out the baskets with the tags, please? Thank you. So when the basket comes to you, please choose a bag tag for yourself and your family members. And we have the children's tags up front here.
So I'd love to see what people brought, because it's not only a blessing of the backpacks, it's also a blessing of any bag you use during your daily life. So we have lots and lots of backpacks down here, like if first people are going to school. Does anybody have things like purses, messenger bags? I see them back there.
Yep.
Yes?
Absolutely.
Oh, wonderful. I'm so glad you
Wow,
brought
thank
them.
you,
Thank
yes.
you. Yes. And I bet there's some really, really interesting stuff inside all of your bags. And so I brought one of my work bags just to show you. So let's see what I have in here. Oh, I've got some paper. You know, I'm always taking notes. People are always telling me things. Oh, pens and highlighters and stuff like that. Hand sanitizer, my cell phone, and the list goes on and on. And you know, all of these things are just tools to help me do my job, to help me go through my daily life. I can learn without them, though, and I can even do my work without them for the most part, although it would be harder.
So I don't have a backpack here with me to show you, but as I'm thinking about this, I'm thinking that there are some things that would be really hard for me to do without, if I didn't have them. So I'm thinking about, you know, respect for other people, kindness and compassion, understanding others, working for justice, being the helping hands in the world. Those are things that, you know, we don't necessarily think about fitting in our backpacks, but those are really important to me.
And so as you pack your backpack, or your gym bag, or your lunchbox, or your purse as you get ready for your day, with all the tools you need to do your daily work, think about the blessings you have with you from your church community. We have these bag tags to put on your bags, or backpacks, lunch bags, to help you remember that every day you carry the blessings and of respect, kindness, encouragement, curiosity, listening, justice, and interconnectedness with every being wherever you go.
So will everyone please hold up the bag they brought with them today? And let's rise if we can, either in body or in spirit, whatever you choose. I'm going to share a little blessing. Even when you are away from Horizon, you carry the heart of Unitarian Universalism wherever you go. May you feel curiosity all your days. May your imagination catch fire. May you find courage when it is necessary. May confusion lead to better questions. May you feel compassion toward those around you and they towards you. May you feel heard and seen. May you hear and see others. May you speak up for those who are not heard, who are not seen. As your spirit's home, we are made stronger when you share what you learn. We ask that you bring what you learn of the world back to this place. And if you agree, please answer, we will. So go and be blessed, my friends, especially our young friends who are getting ready to head to their classes. I confer this blessing upon you. Go in peace.
And today we're having programming for kids up to 13 years old. If you are in preschool or kindergarten, you go to the green classroom. If you are from 1st to 4th grade, you go to the yellow classroom. And if you are 5th to 8th grade, you will go to the portable today. And there are volunteers in the back that are going to take you to your classes. And you may take your backpacks and your tags with you. Let's go ahead and sing the children out. And let's start our new fall semester.
We come now to the time in our service where we share our gifts with one another. The offering to support the ministries of this church will now be joyfully given and received.
Our first reading this morning is For a New Beginning by John O'Donohue. In out-of-the-way places of the heart, where your thoughts never think to wander, this beginning has been quietly forming, waiting until you were ready to emerge. For a long time, it has watched your desire, feeling the emptiness growing inside you, noticing how you willed yourself on, still unable to leave what you had outgrown. It watched you play with the seduction of safety and the gray promises that sameness whispered, heard the waves of turmoil rise and relent, wondered, would you always live like this? Then the delight, when your courage kindled and you stepped out onto new ground, your eyes young again with energy and dream, a path of plenitude opening before you. Though your destination is not yet clear, you can trust the promise of this opening until you unfurl yourself into the grace of beginning that is one of your life's desire. Awaken your spirit to adventure. Hold nothing back. Learn to find ease in risk. Soon you will be home in a new rhythm, for your soul senses the world that awaits you.
We come now to the time in our worship service that we set aside for meditation and prayer. We'll share some silence together, hear the joys and sorrows of our community, share in a spoken prayer, and join in singing our responsive hymn, Spirit of Life. I invite you to join me now in a time of silence. Loving God, Spirit of life, mystery in which we live and move and have our being, draw near to us this morning and hear our prayers. We give thanks this morning for the chance to gather, to be still, to start something new. We hold in our hearts our young people, beginning another year in times that are hard, to put it lightly. Help us to breathe in gratitude for the gift of watching them grow, remembering that without always knowing it, we are their teachers. Invite us to remember that our faith calls us to be lifelong learners, to be people who are forever seeking. And sometimes we seek answers we may not be ready to hear. Sometimes we seek to control that which is not ours to control. Help us, Spirit, to sit down. Hush the voices of our minds and listen, for whatever way the universe may be speaking to us, whatever way love may be knocking and waiting for us to hear. In all the times in which we feel grief, loss, fear, indifference, remind us that we don't move through this life alone. In all the emotions that would keep us isolated, fearful, lonely, help us to turn toward one another, knowing that we need each other to survive. For all these things and those left unsaid in the quiet of our hearts, we pray, today and every day. Amen. I invite us to remain seated and join in singing our responsive hymn, Spirit of Life.
Thank
Our second reading this morning comes from the writings of the Reverend Elizabeth Wynne. It's called For When I Really Don't Want to Learn This. This one is very special to me. I think you'll hear why in a second. She writes, Spirit, I would really rather not learn this. Didn't think I needed to. I thought someone else could do it. Thought a leader was coming to do it. Thought the young people could do it. Or the elders, or the professionals. Or I don't want to learn it because it means letting go of something I hold dear. Letting go of being someone who knows the answers. Letting go of being someone who doesn't know. Letting go of the way I see the world. Letting go of how I might have to change. Letting go of certainty, of logic, of facts, of control, of the myth that you can live on this earth and not harm, or the myth that I can't learn anything new. Help me to learn it, please, and then help me to live what I have learned and do right by the gift of being taught. Here ends the reading. There's a photo that I've been thinking about this week from 1997 of me and my mom together on our first days of school, hers of divinity school and mine of kindergarten, and we're standing in the yard of our little apartment complex with our arms around each other. Both half scared and half excited, not sure what to expect in this new place. And we're both smiling, me having just lost my 2 front baby teeth, proudly showing off the gap in my smile. We were both on the precipice of new beginnings. And I thought about that memory because over the past few weeks, I've noticed kids in our neighborhood in Shreveport all taking their annual back to school pictures, putting on their uniforms, moving into a new year with varying levels of excitement. As I said to our young folks a few weeks ago when we practiced building altars, I've spent much of my life as a student. And maybe it's for that reason that the fall that we're inching toward, little by little, has always felt more to me like a new beginning than January. This time of year always makes me feel like starting over, as if I should be beginning something new. And it is Ingathering Sunday, a time when we are beginning a new church year together. The tradition comes from a time when people's lives may have paused during the summer months, and I'm not sure that really still holds true for all of us. But I like the idea that we are coming back to the same place, that we are beginning again together. It's still special, still meaningful. And so let us gather in. We are gathering as a community, gathering to support and bless the young ones among us as they begin another school year. We shared blessings with each other, especially for our young, reminders of the privilege we have of being in each other's lives, of watching each other grow. And with each new year in church, school, in each new life stage, inevitably there comes new questions, new insights. We wonder about what this community will be to one another, about who might join us in our mission, about who might want to serve as your next minister, about how we will work together this year. We gather in, greeting a community that may look different now than it has in the past. We are all learning to be okay with the unexpected. We are human beings who bring to this place all of our wonders and worries, our insights and our anxieties. And so, in the reading Anita shared with us earlier, we heard John O'Donohue's comforting voice, assuring us that despite the seduction of safety that we might find in routine, that despite the promises that sameness whispers, we have within us the courage to move out onto new ground, not sure what lies ahead. And frankly, we need this comfort, this attempt to soothe our worried minds, because what he doesn't say is that newness is scary, in part because we're required to leave things and places and sometimes people behind. We are forced to abandon our sense of the way things are or the way that we think they should be and move forward into something new. So in preparation for this church year, I have been rereading When Things Fall Apart by Pema Chodron, a Buddhist nun and well-known writer and teacher. And I have been trying my own self to lean into the call of these liminal times. Chodron writes, "Embarking on the spiritual journey is like getting into a very small boat and setting out onto the ocean to search for unknown lands. Like all explorers, we are drawn to discover what's waiting out there without knowing yet if we have the courage to actually face it. Our brains have to let go of everything we know to be true and begin to create a new reality without having all the facts. Even the most adventurous people among us thrive on routine. We like to know what's next, but our world hasn't been like that lately, and it's unlikely to return anytime soon. So we are required to engage in the work of beginning again, whether or not it's by choice. And with any new beginning, underneath our questions and our wonderings, there's also fear." Chodron continues, "Fear is a universal experience. Even the smallest insect feels it. We wade in the tidal pools and put our fingers near the soft, open bodies of sea anemones, and they close up. Everything spontaneously does that. It's not a terrible thing that we feel fear when faced with the unknown. It's part of being alive, something we all share. We react against the possibility of loneliness, of death, of not having anything to hold on to. Fear, Chodron tells us, is a natural reaction to moving closer to the truth. We often say in Unitarian Universalism that we are a community of lifelong learners, and I know that to be true. We are a people who, for the most part, want to engage with life, to learn new things, to have new experiences, and to fundamentally become changed. Part of our purpose here in this life is to grow spiritually. As one of my mentors put it, we are here to grow our souls. But I also know that the learning and growing we often most need to do doesn't usually feel good, especially while it's happening. We heard this earlier in Reverend Elizabeth Wynn's words. Learning something new about ourselves or about the world fundamentally changes everything that has come before. It changes how we think about ourselves and who we are in the world, how we interact with other people. We have to let go of the way we see the world, of being someone who has the answers. We have to let go of control. That's one learning I think we always need, and that I don't think we are ever really ready for. In the Reverend Wynn's words, help me to live by what I have learned and do right by the gift of being taught. And it's true that to be taught is a gift, though it might not feel that way in the present moment. In the words of Pema Chodron, we find that the present moment is a pretty vulnerable place. Chodron shares that her involvement in Buddhism came after the breakdown of her marriage, after her husband came home one day and suddenly announced that he was having an affair and wanted a divorce. And she writes, I remember the sky and how huge it was. I remember the sound of the river and the steam rising up from my cup of tea. There was no time, no thought, there was nothing, just the light and a profound, limitless stillness. Then I regrouped and picked up a stone and threw it at him. Chodron continues, when anyone asks me how I got involved with Buddhism, I always say it was because I was so angry with my husband. The truth is that he saved my life. When that marriage fell apart, I tried hard, very hard, to go back to some kind of comfort, some kind of security, some kind of familiar resting place. And, she continues, fortunately for me, I could never pull it off. Instinctively, I knew that annihilation of my old, dependent, clinging self was the only way to go. This, I think, is one of those lessons you'd rather not have to learn, that much of life is outside of our control. It is often only in retrospect, after much time has passed and wounds have begun to heal, that we can look back with wisdom and maybe with gratitude for the things we once thought would break us. And of course, some lessons are bigger than any one relationship, than any one loss of love, and tell us painful things about our country and our world. As Reverend Wynn reminds us, we need to try to let go of the myth that we can live on this planet and not cause harm. Chodron reminds us too, generally speaking, we regard discomfort in any form as bad news. But for people who have a certain hunger to know what is true, feelings like disappointment, embarrassment, irritation, resentment, anger, jealousy, and fear, instead of being bad news, are actually very clear moments that teach us where it is we're holding back. There is a lot, I think, that we hold back from each other, and even from acknowledging within our own selves. It is always easier, less risky, doesn't require as much of us than when we lay the full weight of our burdens down with another. But this ingathering Sunday, as I think about new beginnings and our commitment to lifelong learning, to growing our souls, it is clear to me that love is the lesson we are always learning. To love and to let ourselves be loved, this is the ultimate journey. In the hymn we sang earlier this morning, we heard the words, love knocks and waits for us to hear, to open and invite. We spend a lot of time talking about love. We teach our children when they're young that this is the church of the open minds, the loving hearts, and the helping hands. We answer the call of love, side with love. But when and where exactly do we hear love knocking? I've started to wonder if love isn't knocking, however softly, in those unexpected moments, in the moments where we get that sinking feeling in our gut that the universe is teaching us a lesson we'd really rather not learn. I've started to wonder if we could listen a little deeper and wait to hear what love is offering. But love also requires something of us too. Love, as the song tells us, requires an invitation, requires us to be listening, paying attention, open, willing. Love requires us to be willing to consider things that make us uncomfortable, that scare us, that leave us wanting to hurl a rock out of frustration and hurt. Love needs and requires an invitation into our lives and the lives of others. Life and faith both demand of us that we spend our lives learning to hear that knocking. And it's not always easy to do. Yes, I think it's easy to hear love knocking in the joyful moments, in the big moments of our lives. But I tend to think that more often, love comes knocking when our hands are full, when we're busy doing 2 or 3 other things, when we think it's really not a good time. Our history, stories of religious traditions around the world are full of these times when we are pushed, nudged, yanked, when love comes knocking and our prophetic voices have thought to themselves, really? Now? The place that I think this idea of love knocking and Pema Chodron's emphasis on the present moment meet is that in order to hear love knocking, we have to actually listen. As Chodron says, and as I said earlier, the present moment is a very vulnerable place to be. One of the biggest insights I had on my pilgrimage this summer, that I had myself and that others came to as well, was that we really needed to sit down, hush the chatter of our minds, and listen. And we joked, rinse, repeat. Rinse, repeat. Rinse, repeat. There is no good time to answer a call that feels mysterious, messy, that you don't really understand. But I think it's all the more powerful that we do it anyway. So I wonder, where in ourselves do we want to hold back? When do we shy away from learning something new, from learning something that might require us to take action, from learning something that might require us to change our lives? Could this avoidance, this sinking feeling, this resistance actually be the first faint whispers of love knocking at our door? Chodron asserts that we never know the end of the story, and that letting there be room for not knowing is actually the most important thing of all. She writes, I read somewhere about a family that only had one son. They were very poor, and their son was very precious to them. And the only thing that mattered was that he support them and bring financial prestige to the family. And then he was thrown off of a horse and became very badly injured. And that seemed like the end of their lives for all of them. He would never be able to move in the same way again. But a few weeks later, an army came and took all the strong and able-bodied men to fight in a war. And this man was allowed to stay behind and take care of his family. Chodron continues, life is like that. We don't know anything. We call one thing bad and another good, but really, we just don't know. And I share this story with you even though I think it's a little black and white, because I think we assume that we know where love is. We know the end game. We know that where love is, things are good. But this love we're describing, it's the messy kind, the fierce kind, the kind that transforms you, whether or not you're asking. There is so much in this life that we do not and will not ever know or understand. We don't know why we go through the things we do, why things unfold one way and not another. But I think the one thing that holds true throughout life's suffering and uncertainties across time and death and the space between the stars is that there's always room for love to call us onward, no matter the timing. And so I wonder this morning where in your life love might be knocking, and where love might need your invitation to be invited in. May it be so. Amen. I invite us to rise, either in body or in spirit, and join in singing our closing hymn, Let It Be a Dance.
Times and the bad times too. Let it be a dance. Let a dancing sound be heard. Play the music, say the words, and fill the sky with sailing birds. Let it be a dance. Let it be a dance. Let it be a dance. Learn to follow, learn to lead. Feel the rhythm, feel the need. To reap the harvest, plant the seed. Let it be a dance. Let your mind dance with you. May I have this dance with you. Through the good times and the bad times too. Let it be a dance. Everybody turn and spin. Let your body learn to bend, and like a willow with the wind. Let it be a dance, let it be a dance, let it be a dance. The child is born, the old must die. A time for joy, a time to cry. Take it as it passes by. Let it be a dance. Let it be a dance with you. May I have this dance with you. Through the good times and the bad times too. Let it be a dance. Morning stars without a night. Without the dark there is no light. If nothing's wrong and nothing's right. Let it be a dance. Let it be a dance. Let it be a dance. Let the sunshine, let it rain. Share the laughter, bear the pain. And round we go again. Let it be a dance.
Please join us in the mission and vision of this church. Our mission: welcome radically, love boldly, grow spiritually, and serve courageously. This we do because we envision a beloved community filled with compassion, helping all to thrive in a just world.
So friends, my hope for you as we go forth from our time together this morning is that you begin to hear love knocking and remember to invite it in. Go in peace.